Hello everyone. Today I wanted to talk about the time I rented space at an office building to turn into a craft room. I had looked around for a while for space, and at the time the rental prices had started to come down for commercial spaces. These were still unaffordable at the time until I came to one that was $750 a month for 1,000 square feet of space. The listing had a realtor's name, and I called her. She answered immediately, and I explained that I was looking for commercial space to rent as a craft area for me and my daughter. The realtor was eager for me to look at it and asked if we could meet up that day around noon. I took my lunch break from work and I headed on over. It was about a 20-minute drive from where I worked. The building sat on a large, about an acre lot, next to one that was identical to it in property size and building size. The one that was sitting next to it was occupied by a coffee shop with a drive-through and a radio station in the upper floor. The building I was looking at adjacent to that was 2 stories. It looked to me like a converted duplex. I noticed right away that the front parking area was very small, even though the building itself sat on a large lot. There were about 10 parking spaces, 2 of which were handicap parking, which concerned me a little. However, it wouldn't impact my decision because I wasn't expecting to have any visitors or customers to the space I rented. The bottom level of the building was occupied by a nail salon, a package store, and a restaurant. The top level of the building was occupied by a professional in an office space, and then an unknown occupant that I never ended up meeting, and then the end space, which I ended up renting for a craft room. And prior to me renting that space, I understand it was rented by a massage parlor. The real estate agent unlocked the front door in the front of the building directly next to the package store, and that led up a very large staircase. I did notice that was pretty wide for moving up and down furniture, so I commented that, having all these stairs, that would be quite a hike every day to go up to my craft space. And she said my entrance would be in the back. This was only for deliveries. If I had a couch delivered or furniture, a desk delivered, anything like that, I could use this entrance. But otherwise, I would be parking in the back and I would be walking up the stairs from the back way where there was another whole additional staircase. At the top of the stairs was a very small bathroom, and to the left of that was a door. And it was one of these large metal exit doors in case of an emergency. She led me through that way. Right away, right there, inside the doorway, to the right was a door. To the left was a counter. It looked like a bar counter, like where somebody would serve breakfast in their kitchen. She explained that the massage parlor had a receptionist station there. To the right, there was a door that led down a hallway, and down that hallway was a very small bathroom, and in the back of that was a kitchenette. The kitchenette was so cute. It really resembled a country kitchen with white cabinets. It was an older building, so the design of everything was pretty vintage and outdated. After coming back out from that hallway, I proceeded to the next room, which was a very large, spacious room, and it had one window and it overlooked the back parking lot. Coming back out of that room, there was another door, and when you opened that door, you entered into a great big room, the entire length of the whole space. That room was super cute. It had black and white tile floors. It had different color paint on the wall, like maybe whoever used the space prior had painted one half of the room one color and one half of the room another color, and I just thought it was darling, and I figured I could put my own touch on it, maybe paint it my own colors sometime. And To the left of that room is the back door. And there were folding doors off of this room as well. And when you came out of the folding doors, you went into a living room space that was behind that reception area. The living room space had windows overlooking the front parking lot, overlooking the strip mall, and there was a nice sized closet in there. After assessing everything, I didn't ask the appropriate questions that I should have up front, and I should have known better. But having never rented commercial property before, I didn't realize I should have asked these questions. One thing is furniture. When you order furniture, if you go to a furniture store, you're going to have people that are going to hand deliver the furniture to you. If you order online, say from Wayfair or another furniture company, you're going to maybe have a box truck come. You might have a couple of people in a box truck deliver the furniture inside the space, or you may receive boxes of furniture that you have to put together yourself. I had to plan this out a little bit because I realized not many couches and desks were going to fit through these spaces I had to work with. The back door was smaller than your average door. Because this was an older building, it wasn't up to code in some of the areas. So the back door was too small to fit a regular couch through. But that front metal exit door, you could fit a wider piece of furniture or a box through that door. I had to coordinate furniture delivery to make sure that I wasn't affecting any of the other tenants when I had the delivery people come with these pieces of furniture. And I ordered a couch and I ordered a desk, and thankfully the couch came disassembled, so we were able to assemble it once it was inside, and it did fit through that heavy metal door. The desk I ordered also came in a box and had to be assembled. That was a thinner box, and I was able to fit through the back door, and that was going into the front room off of the back door. The second thing were window treatments. There were no curtains, no blinds, or any kind of privacy panels on these windows at all. And the sun, it shone through a lot of these windows, which was a nice feature, but being on a main road that was across from a strip mall, having lights on at night off of the main road there, I didn't want those lights shining in at night. I just went to Walmart and got some inexpensive curtains and hardware to hang up the curtains. I made sure that they were not see-through curtains so that if I wanted to have some privacy, I could close them and know that nobody could see in them. The next item of topic was flooring. When you go into a commercial space, you might luck out and have beautiful, perfect hardwood flooring or tile flooring. I wasn't so lucky. The flooring that was placed down on the floors, aside from the black and white tile in one room, the rest of the flooring was peel and stick tiles, and they had all started to peel up, and I kept tripping on them. So I had to go to a hardware store that sold rugs by the roll, and I had to get indoor-outdoor carpeting to lay them in each of the rooms to cover that peel and stick tile. I couldn't afford to replace the flooring, and I didn't own the building, so I didn't want to invest money into this. But the indoor-outdoor carpeting ended up costing me about $400. The fourth thing I noticed was when I washed my hands in the bathroom and kitchen, there was no hot water at all. So I called the landlord and asked, "What is up with the water in here? It's freezing." To which he replied, "Oh, right, well, you need to buy a hot water heater. That's not my responsibility. That's the responsibility of the tenant." And he actually came up to my unit when I was there decorating, and he showed me that the prior tenant from the massage parlor had holes all in the wall from where the pipes were coming out to connect to the water heater. He said I'd have to hire a plumber to install one if I wanted one. And I did talk to a plumber, and the cost of it was too much. I was not willing to spend that much money on a hot water heater for a building I didn't own. And I thought, wow, I wish I had known that ahead of time. I had no idea. And the plumber said he thought it was ridiculous that the landlord was not supplying it. But I found out that that happens in a lot of cases. This whole building had electric heat. Electric heat here in my area is extremely expensive. It is basically unaffordable. That particular winter wasn't too bad, but a couple of nights I was there working late on some crafting ideas, and I used the electric heat. The breaker box started to buzz really loudly, and it was in the bathroom, and when I went to look at it, it didn't look right to me. It looked very unsafe, like it was going to catch on fire. It started shaking right on the wall. When I brought this up to the landlord, he told me that he had no idea what I was talking about, that the heat worked fine and the breaker box was fine. It clearly was not fine, and I realized he wasn't going to do anything about it. Instead, I kept the breaker box switched off, and I went to Walmart and I got some nice portable heaters. And because it was 1,000 square feet, I was able to position the heaters wherever I was working and stayed warm that way. In concordance with the electric heat, they had some outdoor lighting. And I left the outdoor light on the back door only for 2 nights before I got back there and realized I had left it on. And that ran up the light bill to about $50 because the light bill doesn't just incur charges for your actual electric uses. You also have a flat fee to start with for your electricity. I didn't realize that electricity costs more for commercial buildings than it does for a residential. One night I was working late. I noticed one of the ceiling tiles was making a noise above me, and when I looked up, a mouse fell out of the ceiling tile. There were mouse droppings. There was evidence of mice getting into my belongings, especially the paper products I had for my crafts. In addition, the room had started to absorb smells from the restaurant downstairs. Thankfully, I had some nice air sprays that could combat the odors, but eventually I had to get an air purifier, which cost me about $50 to $75 because the smells were actually coming up through the holes in the wall from the bathroom where the old hot water tank used to be. Another thing I hadn't thought about when I moved in was I had to park out in the back per the agreement I had with the landlord in the lease. Well, when all the tenants were parked there, the tenant for the nail salon was a woman that worked with a coworker. So you had the owner of the salon, and then you had the coworker. So that's 2 vehicles right there. But the woman that owned the salon had little children. So her husband would be there often after school with the children and on weekends. So that was 3 vehicles. But not only that, they allowed the children to ride their bikes, tricycles, and play in that parking lot. It wasn't ideal. It was also hard some days to get up my back steps because the father would let the children play on my back steps, or they would have their toys sprawled out on the back steps and not clean them up. One day on a Saturday afternoon, I got there and they had all of the towels from the nail salon hanging all over my stairs to dry off. And it made me feel very uncomfortable. And it was awkward trying to pick up somebody else's stuff just so I could get up my steps to my leased place. Another thing that I noticed in the lease agreement was the landlord mentioned that I would be responsible for paying for all the snow plowing. So I asked him about this. He got very annoyed with me and said that was standard in all lease agreements. And I said, well, I wasn't aware of that. And what does that actually mean? That I would be responsible for the snow plowing? So I didn't know what that meant. Come wintertime, he's saying in the lease I have to pay for the snow plowing. I didn't know if that meant all of the other tenants were chipping in or exactly what that meant. So he said no, that he paid for the snow plowing. However, in the event he had to pay more than $2,000 for the winter, then I would be assessed a fee towards the snow plowing costs. Also, he mentioned something which was very confusing to me about cleaning off my staircase. So I said, well, does that mean I have to come here before I go to my day job and clean off the stairwell? Because the language in the lease was very confusing. When my lease was coming up, I decided not to renew it. Although I had fun experiences with my daughter in our new craft space, it became more of a hangout for us. And because of the mice, because of the odors, and because of the parking situation, I decided those outweighed the fun we were having at the space. If we had, say, a craft store or something of those lines, that we could have built this into a business, I would have chosen to look elsewhere to maybe buy into a place. I hope you find this helpful. If you are considering renting space for a craft room or for a business such as reselling online, just be aware of what the lease terms are and the things that you might not otherwise notice, and just be aware that commercial leases and commercial spaces are not the same as residential. Thank you for watching. Take care.